Okay, let's talk about dissecting the screenplays. Uh, when we look at screenplays, which is the written portion of a film or a television show, there's some fun things that we really need to know about how things are set up so that it makes sense. And there's some tips and tricks that sort of make all screenplays work, especially full length films. So that's what we're going to really be looking at today. So, first things first, we're just going to look at what I know you've seen this many times before, this concept of the basic dramatic plot structure. Now, I put in dramatic here because this looks slightly different than maybe what you've seen in your English classes and stuff like that. Sometimes theirs looks more like a witch's hat that goes up and down all the way and across. But ours, the biggest thing is in dramatic performance, there's no way for your characters to end up back to where everything is just regular and life is easy cheesy peasy as where they started at the beginning of the film or the play or that sort of stuff. So we start off in just everyday life. This is the exposition, not expedition. This is where we figure out the setting, the time, the place, the conditions. They're on the moon. It's 2092, and all the human race has tried to make it to Mars, and these people have been left on the moon or something like that, right? We meet our main characters, and we already normally meet the protagonist and the antagonist, so who you're supposed to be rooting for and who is against them within this exposition time period. We may not meet all their friends and the such that go on the journey with them at this point, but we at least know or have inklings of who this antagonist is going to be. Then right here happens the inciting incident. So with the inciting incident, one of the biggest deals is this word inciting. And in literature, a lot of times you'll just see initial incident. So in other words, the first thing that happens. But in dramatic plot structure, you're going to see the inciting incident. It's like a riot. Riots don't just happen. Something occurs to incite them, to get them stirred up, to get them going. Something very dramatic happens, and this gets us going here. So this is where we figure out our conflicts. Now, sometimes our main character, our protagonist, is only going to have one conflict. Now, I know these are masculine terms. These are just the general literature terms, but it's also they are not gendered per se. So person versus person. So man versus man, person against person. Man versus himself, person against inner thoughts, worries, concerns, fear, sadness, that sort of stuff, or man versus environment. Now, the environment can be nature itself and things like Bird Box or that sort of stuff where, the happening where nature is trying to get you, or, there's going to be a big storm or that sort of stuff. Or also society as a whole, whether it is gangs or war or politics or family belief systems of, that sort of thing. Like maybe it's the female trying to break out and they're trying to do their own thing or something like that, right? And a family belief system that says women can't do that, or, all sorts of different concepts of what society is. So society can be huge and overarching, or it can be a small society of family and that sort of thing. Then we start our journey. This is our hike up the mountain. And if you notice, there's lots of little peaks as we go. So there's multiple times where we sort of come to a climax, but instead of coming back down, we are actually still moving upwards, even as it feels like we have this release. And what this does is this helps your audience stay tuned in. So it gets more intense, and then we calm down a little bit, more intense, and then we calm down a little bit. If we just stay super intense the whole entire time, the audience actually will disconnect from you because they say we can't stay at that sort of intensity all the time. Then we get to the climax, and to me, the climax is always the point of decision. And some people say, well, there's not a decision. Do this or I'm going to kill you. Well, just because you said, or I'm going to, right? There's a choice. Even in the worst times, there's a choice. Sometimes it's not the best choice, mind you, but there is a choice here that I believe that happens at the climax, and either it resolves the choice or whew, we explode and we pew, and come into that sort of cliffhanger thought process. Now we move into a falling action. A lot of times this is not called resolution, because when we go into, if you notice, there's no word resolution here on the dramatic plot structure, because even though some things are going to be solved, because we don't come all the way back down, we just conclude our story. Our story is left purposely so that the audience is going, I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder what's going to happen. Or they walk out going, well, I know that now the prince and the princess are together, but they don't even know each other. They've only met each other for 3 days. So are they even going to like each other in a week, or 6 months? Like, there's not actually this resolving of all these issues. Wow, they made that they finally were able to steal that last car and appease this, but they're probably still going to head to jail for a very long time. So, this isn't really a resolving. We sort of conclude without all the bows tied. And we like that. We want our audience to walk out still discussing. So this word right here is denouement. In other words, this is sort of the idea of it like coming to an end, but it doesn't per se mean that it is resolved, that everything is over. And this bothers people a lot of times on really good dramatic films, plays, television shows, that sort of stuff, is not having that bow tied at the end. And we go, what's going to happen? It's also where we leave our audiences going, ooh, is there going to be a sequel? Okay, so let's look at this. This is the hero's journey. Hold on 1 second. I need to make sure. I'm going to reshare and make sure I have the sound shared as well, too. Okay, here we go.
What do Harry Potter, Katniss Everdeen, and Frodo all have in common with the heroes of ancient myths? What if I told you they are all variants of the same hero? Do you believe that? Joseph Campbell did. He studied myths from all over the world and published a book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces, retelling dozens of stories and explaining how each represents the monomyth, or hero's journey. So, what is the hero's journey? Think of it as a cycle. The journey begins and ends in the hero's ordinary world, but the quest passes through an unfamiliar, special world. Along the way, there are some key events. Think about your favorite book or movie. Does it follow this pattern? Status quo, that's where we start. 1 o'clock, call to adventure. The hero receives a mysterious message, an invitation, a challenge. 2 o'clock, assistance. The hero needs some help, probably from someone older, wiser. 3 o'clock, departure. The hero crosses the threshold from his normal, safe home and enters the special world and adventure. We're not in Kansas anymore. 4 o'clock, trials. Being a hero is hard work. Our hero solves a riddle, slays a monster, escapes from a trap. 5 o'clock, approach. It's time to face the biggest ordeal, the hero's worst fear. 6 o'clock, crisis. This is the hero's darkest hour. He faces death and possibly even dies, only to be reborn. 7 o'clock, treasure. As a result, the hero claims some treasure, special recognition, or power. 8 o'clock, result. This can vary between stories. Do the monsters bow down before the hero, or do they chase him as he flees from the special world? 9 o'clock, return. After all that adventure, the hero returns to his ordinary world. 10 o'clock, new life. This quest has changed the hero. He has outgrown his old life. 11 o'clock, resolution. All the tangled plot lines get straightened out. 12 o'clock, status quo, but upgraded to a new level. Nothing is quite the same once you're a hero. Many popular books and movies follow this ancient formula pretty closely, but let's see how well The Hunger Games fits the hero's journey template. When does Katniss Everdeen hear a call to adventure that gets the story moving? When her sister's name is called from the lottery. How about assistance? Is anyone going to help her on her adventure? Haymitch. What about departure? Does she leave her ordinary world? She gets on a train to the capital. Okay, so you get the idea. What do you have in common with Harry Potter, Katniss Everdeen, and Frodo? Well, you're human, just like them. The hero's journey myth exists in all human cultures and keeps getting updated because we humans reflect on our world through symbolic stories of our own lives. You leave your comfort zone, have an experience that transforms you, and then you recover and do it again. You don't literally slay dragons or fight Voldemort, but you face problems just as scary. Joseph Campbell said, "In the cave you fear to enter lies the treasure you seek." What is the symbolic cave you fear to enter? Auditions for the school play? Baseball tryouts? Love? Watch for this formula in books, movies, and TV shows you come across. You will certainly see it again, but also be sensitive to it in your own life. Listen for your call to adventure. Accept the challenge. Conquer your fear and claim the treasure you seek. And then do it all over again.
Okay, so that's such a quick one, and it's really worth going back and watching through as well too. But we look at this hero's journey almost in every single one of our films, and you'll see how it actually lines up very well with your dramatic plot structure as well too. There's a few little inklings there and some word choices again, like we see the word resolution. But let's look through and see. So our hero starts out, and we're in the ordinary world, right? Life is regular, and ordinary does not mean boring. Ordinary means that this is the world that we go, okay, like this is still heightened enough to be worthy of being some dramatic thing for us to watch, but it is that character's ordinary world. It is their status quo, meaning what's regular for them. Then they have that call to adventure. They get the assistance. If you're a Lord of the Rings fan, you can easily step along through this very, very easily. Call to adventure. You've got to go return the ring. Assistance. We get the whole group of all the people, right? Then we depart on the journey. Okay, we head out. And this is where we start switching from that ordinary world to the special world. So once we're in the special world, they start moving much quicker usually. And events are all like, this is that jagged mountain that we're climbing. Okay, so next we have our trials, different things that we have to come against. Sometimes it is just simply the terrain is difficult. Sometimes it's multiple things that we have to come up against, or people who are standing in the way of what we're needing to get done. We have the approach. In other words, we're trying to get to that point where something big is going to happen. And while we're approaching, if you think Wizard of Oz, think it's the poppy field, right? Oh, we're finally going to make it to the wizard. Oh no, here's the poppy field, and we're all put to sleep. Or, oh, we're finally trying to make it to the castle. Oh, the flying monkeys attack, right? We have these approaches multiple times, but this is up to our crisis. This is our biggest moment, right? right? Our biggest moment. You can think of the word crisis also meaning climax, normally happening right here. So it's at our highest point of our special world journey. Okay, then what do we get that resolution of the crisis? Do we get something from this? Is our treasure that we save a life? Is it that we get the broomstick? Is it that we win and survive the Hunger Games? What is it? Okay. Then how does that affect us? What's the result of getting that treasure, from overcoming this? And sometimes the treasure doesn't seem so wonderful, and the result isn't so great for our hero as they're going through. And these are called, when it's like, oh, this is really not good. This is really not good. These are called French endings. The French really like these. And so they're actually called French endings, as these sometimes are very negative. Most American films are not going to be super negative at this point. We're still going to be able to find some rosiness, but like in a French ending, these results and the treasure is that we realize we really don't need to have that person in our life. And the result is that the main characters break up and they don't ever get back together again. And you're like, what? Why am I watching this movie? And then we return back to the ordinary world. We go back to school, we go home. But again, it doesn't come all the way back down that mountainside. This person, this character can never, whether it could be a dog or a mouse, it doesn't matter. This character cannot go through all of these trials and be back to regular. Even though the ordinary world of the story, they're entering back home, they are changed. They are changed. This is where sometimes you go, ooh, this character's gonna need some therapy. And you go, please go sign up for therapy. It's worth it. So this is a new life. So again, when we have that mountain, this is why we've gone up a mountain and we've come back down, but our valley isn't the same spot where we left. Our valley is new and we're on a different level than what we used to be at. And our story resolves in the idea that it stops for the film. It does not, like, and he talks about tying a bow in novels. Most novels do. They'll tie a bow and allow you to like solve all of what's going on. But films tend to try to have it where they could move into a sequel, or television shows are going to move you into the next show.